Students call me Lama Linda, and I lead a Vajrayana Buddhist Sangha called Awaken in Toronto. I'd like to talk today a little bit about Buddhanature. And Buddhanature is a really hard thing to describe, but it is the essence of goodness that each and every person, human, has. They are born with this Buddha nature quality. It is something that cannot be taken away, cannot be stolen by anyone. No experience can take it away. It is inherent. It is a right. It is the essence of goodness that every single person on the planet has, no matter what they have done, no matter whether it's good or bad, or no matter what has been done to them. It can never be taken away. And there are many experiences that challenge this, and some religions would say people are not born with Buddha nature, but they're born evil and bad, and they have to have certain interventions to make them good again. But the essence of Buddhism is to believe that every single person is born with Buddha nature, this quality of inherent goodness that no one has to do anything to deserve it, but it is just a starting point, a middle point, and an end point, in fact, because there is this goodness. And yet, when I describe Buddha nature to people, they often have a hard time sort of comprehending, what does it mean? What does the essence of goodness mean? What are the qualities of goodness? And like a Western teacher, one that I am, and one that's also has experience with psychotherapy, I realize that there are lots of different ways to describe Buddha nature, and one of the ways I find the most easily turned to is the way that the internal family systems therapy model, which is a model of therapy, but the way that they describe capital S self is actually one of the best ways to describe what Buddha nature actually is. So rather than turning to the ancient sutras or the 2,500-year-old language of the Buddha, I'm going to turn us to modern psychotherapy to teach us how to identify it, because I really believe that once we know what Buddha nature is, we can touch it more easily, we can feel it, we can believe it. But we have to first be able to describe it to be able to really kind of know it. So I turn to internal family systems, and many of you might have heard of this, IFS as it's known, and it was created by someone by the name of Dick Schwartz. And there's a lot of different teachers on it, including Dick, but there's one of my favorite teachers is Frank Anderson. He teaches on IFS and helps describe what IFS is. And I'm going to describe it for you only bits and pieces here in the context of understanding what Buddha nature is. So IFS, in short, is a Western psychotherapy that looks at multiplicity of identity and this idea that we have parts within ourselves. These parts have different qualities. Some of them are protectors, some of them are positive protectors, some of them are negative protectors, but all the parts are good, and this is a normal thing. It's not a schizophrenia for anyone, but it's this idea of multiplicity of parts, of identities within ourselves, and these make us who we are, and they include feelings, thoughts, identities, and often different ages. So it's sort of like a way of bringing the past into the present. Really, it's very much in line with how Buddhism describes the skandhas. And if you know what the skandhas are, they're described often as the heaps or the piles, which is really like the categories, 5 different categories of things that make up our identity. And these are form, sensation, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. And they're very similar to this concept of parts of IFS. Now, that's what IFS is. Let me get back to what I was trying to tell you, which is really about what the Buddhanature is and how IFS describes Buddhanature. Because at the essence of IFS is this idea that each and every one of us have a part that is an organizing factor, an organizing facilitator of the other parts. Sometimes IFS says the self is not exactly a part, but it's practically speaking, it's a part. And it's a part in the sense that it is separate from the others, but also inherently a part of all the others. And there's qualities to this capital S self that make it very different from the ego self. So the self with the small letter S is often more is more associated with the ego self and some of the troubles and challenges of the ego itself. But the capital S self is not the ego, but rather this nebulous Buddhanature. And it's hard to know which part is a good part and which part is the self. But the self, capital S self, is the one that has the most resonance with these 8 C's. And there are other letters of the alphabet that have words that are actually positive, good, but these all begin with the letter C, and they are the core qualities of this Buddhanature or self. And these 8 C's are compassion, curiosity, clarity, creativity, calm, confidence, courage, and connectedness. I'll go through those just a little bit slower here. So the first one, obviously, compassion. Compassion is a very important part in Buddhism, and it's thought that as beings awaken, they spend more and more time in dwelling in compassion. Compassion where they are able to imagine the needs of another being, another sentient being. Curiosity. Endless curiosity about how could this be different? How could this be better? What's really going on here? Curiosity will just take you far in terms of being able to show up and stay present. Clarity. So this sense of clarity, really like honing in on the sharpness of it without, just seeing it in clarity as, without pretending it's something different. Creativity. So the self has creativity to imagine things that other parts cannot even imagine. Calm. Really being steady, steadfast, calm, unmovable like a mountain, being able to just be present with the present moment. Confidence. I often say if I could bottle this, it would be the most precious thing, more precious than gold. We're always looking for more confidence, being able to have confidence in whatever is going on. And it's that strength of being. Courage. So making changes, not being fixed, not thinking things have to stay as they are. And then the final C is connectedness. Understanding how deeply everything is interconnected. This is part of the truth of Buddhism, which says that there is no self. There is only interconnectedness, and essentially, it's the recognition that everything is always changing, and that which we think of as a fixed inherent self is an illusion, and that truly we are all interconnected. So if you're trying to start with what is Buddhanature and trying to understand the qualities of Buddhanature, it'll help you to go to IFS and the 8 C's and to cultivate these 8 C's in your being and to make contact with the part of yourself that actually already has these 8 C's And that's because that is in you, whether you've ever turned to it or been interested in it before or tried to grow it. But it is the part that is constant, that has been with you since conception, and it will be with you till your passing of this lifetime. And looking for these 8 C's and the qualities of the 8 C's will bring you in greater contact with this Buddha nature and with this essence of goodness, pureness, wholeness, and completeness in this moment. A wonderful thing to make greater contact with.